Toward the end of last year, I sat down with two other vinyl soundtrack maestros and we talked about all the things that we want to see for the upcoming year. Well, it's been 6 months and let's see how many of those things actually came to fruition. Welcome to Popcorn and Vinyl, the channel dedicated to films, film score, and vinyl. And on today's episode, it's my pleasure to welcome two special guests, David from the Vinyl Score and Paolo from Jigowatts. Both these gentlemen share my passion for movies and soundtracks. They've both decided to dive into the YouTube abyss to share that passion with others. And it was great to have a chat with these guys. We went over some of the things we wanted to see in the upcoming year, some releases we were looking forward to, and just random speculation. So join us in our discussion and please leave your thoughts on any of the questions that we discussed in the comments below. Getting into today's show, it's actually interesting how this all came about. At the end of the year, Paolo reached out to me to see if I wanted to do a video on his channel with David, and I was amazed because I was going to ask the exact same thing of the two of them. And great minds must think alike, and we had never met each other before, but the conversation flowed so easily. So it was great to chat with these guys. Check out the video. I also left a link to the video that Paolo put together, looking back at 2020 and what were some of our favorites from that year. Now, in my video, I wanted to look ahead to 2021, to some of the releases that should have been coming out, as well as stuff we just wanted to see. What's our ultimate grails, white whales out there that we want to see pressed on vinyl. So let's jump right into the soundtrack discussion round table. Looking back, only one of these things have sort of come true based on our discussion. So watch the video to find out what that one thing was. I guess I just wanted to start off by welcoming you guys, and if you guys wouldn't mind just giving a quick intro about who you guys are and a little bit about your channel. Obviously there'll be some similarities, but what you want to kind of do with your channel going forward.
My name's David. I have a channel called the Vinyl Score, and for me, it kind of started as I needed something to do during quarantine. There's a lot of YouTube channels that I really like. And I have a background in kind of theater and acting, and all my opportunities to express myself dried up. And I was kind of like, well, what am I going to do with myself? So I just started recording videos, and then I just was like, I just made a promise to myself. Each time I make one, I'm going to look at it and say, what am I going to do better than the last one, right? Just keep improving. And then I just found myself really loving editing and just kind of diving into that. So it's kind of taken off from there for me. But I think for me, I just want to keep looking at records and keep kind of analyzing stuff like that. I harbor a small hope that, maybe I could turn this into a little label and release like 2 things a year just for kicks. Maybe just a variant, get involved in something like that. I spent 10 years in a record store. Managing a store in Oregon, and so I've spent a lot of time around records. So this seemed like a nice balance between getting to talk to some vinyl-centric folks, getting to share some opinions, getting to scratch that acting bug maybe a little bit too, and just have fun. So that's me.
Mine is very actually similar story to David. Mine sort of came from a need to sort of express myself creatively. In the pandemic, I was working from home, and not just that, but like a couple of years like in my career, I've sort of kind of like felt a bit frustrated where I was in terms of, I work for a big network, and, I'm a video producer for them, but, the chances for me for express myself creatively weren't really coming my way as much as I wanted to. So I just wanted to sort of do my own thing, not answer to anyone, just sort of play around with video editing, post-production. And obviously I'm a huge fan of film music. So I sort of started that, and I started Jigowatts sort of kind of just to talk about the things I love. Because first and foremost, that's what I wanted. I just want to have fun. Because in my work, I was just having the opposite. It was not a fun environment. So I just want to create something where I can have fun. And until this day, it's a challenge. Like all of you probably are aware, you start from fun and then you think, oh man, I read this about the algorithm and I need to do X amount, and you kind of like, I always have to pump the brakes and be like, it's for fun, it's for fun. So first and foremost for fun, but it's been great. Like the few couple of videos I've done, it's the few people have watched it, their response has been great, and it's sort of given me the hope and optimism that I needed in such a tough year at my work. So that's it. And sort of what I started with, some of them focus on records, some of them on film music, but what I'm hoping sort of to bring is more like I'm doing, the last one I did was a very extensive Back to the Future film score analysis, but I don't consider myself, nor do I seek to be a film music critic. I don't think of that. I think I'm trying to focus on the video production aspect of it, and maybe something that I found in a book or something that, someone that really knows their stuff. Like, how can I take that from something very hard to digest, a book or something, and make into a fun visual experience? So it could open up to maybe people who not necessarily think about film music and stuff like that. That's sort of what I'm aiming with my videos. And I'm, in the long run, I also hope to do stuff that it's not film music related, more like, I would love to do one about Over the Garden Wall and like the art and stuff like that. So, it's just having fun with the things I like, just a chance for me to learn and have fun. And yeah.
That's awesome. And like, both of you guys, I think, started kind of around the same time that I did. Because just in terms of how I started, for me, it was just a matter of, I didn't see anybody that was doing this. And I think I may have started like a couple months maybe before you guys. I only like put out one video and then waited a long time. But there's channels out there that I like that are vinyl specific. There's channels that are like movie related, but like nobody was doing a film score and not a film score and vinyl thing at the time. So I thought like, what the hell? I'll do my own. And then like I discovered you guys, and I love the stuff that you guys were doing. And it seems like there's a little bit of an interest kind of in this from a lot of other people. So, why not create something that we ourselves would want to see? So like I love watching both you guys put out great stuff, and I'll leave links in the description to your channels. I definitely recommend you guys subscribing to those if you have any interest in soundtracks. So looking forward to seeing more stuff from you guys.
Yeah, I remember discovering your channel and I sent you a message on Instagram because precisely that. I was like, man, I need to say like great job and encourage, because there's not a lot of content about soundtracks specifically. So, I like when you see someone starting to do it, you sort of want to say, keep it up, great work, and encourage them. Because, I mean, at least for me, that makes a huge difference when you hear those things. And, obviously, selfishly, like I want to see that content too. I want to enjoy it. I want to see people talking about soundtracks. So
I think I found both you guys via Reddit. And because I'll be honest, via YouTube, I don't get, the stuff doesn't pop into my face that I want to see unless it's a channel that I really like, then that kind of stuff. But both of you, I think I found off some subreddits, and I think Mark and I had a conversation via comments a couple times. And then I watched, what was the first? I watched your Avengers one. That was the first one I watched. And then I think I watched your very first one. And I was like, and it was kind of this like, well, the walls coming up on support of a house or something. I was like, other people are kind of into this too. Because at first I was like, even if it's shouting to the void, I was like, I don't care. I'm into it. It's fine, but it was, I think both of you guys were kind of like both affirming people sailing on the same sea. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I like both you guys have great styles, it's very different. And so that's been the other thing. And I honestly really appreciate moments like this because I'm big in the community and not getting into some sort of competitive vibe either, so this is like, I'm really grateful for these opportunities too. This is fun.
I just remember like Paolo, like the first video you saw, I'm like, damn, like that production quality is amazing. And like you guys both do certain things that like, I feel like I need to up my game too. So it's almost like a good push to make your stuff better, seeing other people do well. And that's, I think, just good for everybody.
I'll say like behind the scenes, that first video that took me 2 months and a half. Like I started
You
that
could see it,
in
yeah.
I started that in something March, and I mean, obviously, you guys juggling work and then this and all that stuff. It was hard. So that was throwing the kitchen sink. That was like just pouring why I love film music. And I was told like, oh, you should make it into 4 videos. I was like, I can't. I've been working on this 2 months and a half. I cannot. I gotta put it out. But I was just gonna say like I get really excited when I see you guys, and even if other channels come along, because there's so many different like we were talking about how there's not enough soundtrack related content, but there's also so many angles. Like the stuff that I watch from David's channel, like I don't necessarily, it's not a thing that I would seek out or buy, but then I discover that. And the same with you, like the way that you look at records, or the ones like for the Donkey Kong, like that's something that might not be on my radar, but hearing your perspective and your insight just opens it up. I just feel like there's so many pockets that there's enough there. The playground is big enough for everyone to have fun and you know.
Getting stuff out and then not looking back, because I watched Heat, my first two. I watched my first two and I couldn't even finish. I was like, I can't even look at this anymore. Like, because I and part of it, if I waited and looked at it too long, sometimes I think I would get cold feet and I would freeze, and I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. And like now, sometimes I see, I'm like, oh, people are watching Heat. I'm like, don't watch Heat. Well, that's like, old production values. Come closer. But I'm kind of like from the motto of just warts and all, leave it out there. People can see growth, progression. People can see your ideas change. Mark, you talked about like, I see things that other people do, and I'm like, oh, that might be a fun way to kind of flip into the vinyl world or the soundtrack world. So I just kind of just keep going.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think we're probably super critical of ourselves more than anybody else. So we know what kind of goes into it. And I'm just glad that we could all come together. Obviously, we all have huge wish lists and stuff that we want to see. And I kind of want to start off with just asking you guys, like, in your mind, what is an existing score that's sort of out of print that you would like to see repressed, whether it's in a completely new imagination of that original pressing, or just something kind of like The Social Network, where it's just like a repress of a previous version?
I think the biggest one, and I have kind of a long list, like, of things I kind of just think of. I'll watch a movie and I'll go, is that? And then I'll go, no, and I'll put it on my list, right? And part of it, like I said earlier, is sometimes I dream about putting out a couple things myself, but one of the biggest ones that I think's on a lot of lists, and I'm not the only person to be interested in this by far, is The Shining. Is that one's really out of print, and I think to the point where it's a bummer, because I think a lot of people would like to experience that record, but it's so expensive that it's a drag, and sucks the fun out of it, right? And I don't mind a hunt. I don't mind searching for a record and paying a little bit, but that's one that I think really deserves it. And I saw Mondo's doing some Stanley Kubrick stuff this kind of coming year, and I know they just did Eyes Wide Shut. So hopefully maybe they untangled that little licensing web, because I heard that one's tough. I also think if you talk about expanding, they could release that as it is, but I also think, if you could work it out and put Dr. Sleep on the other side, make it a double, I think that would be fun too. I'm not so much of a purist that I wouldn't think that would be a fun experience of a record. So that's one I thought of.
My number one, absolutely one, is Batman the Animated Series Volume 1. I talked about this on the video we did for my channel, but it came out in a period where I still had not spent that much on a vinyl. I was still sort of getting acclimated with that. And I was like, man, I don't know. And so I passed on it. And boy, do I regret it. Every single month I just look at it's I'm Christing. I just got volume 2, and I'm very happy that I finally have one of those. I luckily I also have the CDs from the Batman animated series by La La Land, which is they're also an amazing release. So I still get to enjoy them, all that stuff, but definitely that is the one that I'm sort of just looking and hoping it gets released. And the other one will be the Studio Ghibli from Mondo. Those first is one of their first releases they did. And I think the artist is Tyler Stout, and they just look great. But obviously, most importantly, like the music from Studio Ghibli is really, it's, you know, I love Spirit Away, Princess Mononoke, Joe Hisashi. Almost everything he's done, I've loved. So I'm hoping those come back on the site sometime again. I know that there are other Studio Ghibli releases out there, but for some reasons, I don't know, something is holding me back. Like, first off, their price tag seems a bit high, and they have so many different versions, and I don't know. I'm hoping that I can sort of get that really re-release.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like re-releases that like come out of like limited editions. So I'm all for like limited editions and exclusives and stuff, but I would much rather own something myself than having something exclusive that somebody else does not. Like I'm all for just more of us having that particular record. So like you guys mentioned, like The Shining, how that's, you know, tough to hunt down and those kind of things. I want those rare ones to be more common. Like that's why I was happy with Tron being re-released. For me, the one that I would love to see repressed, I think it's out of print now, or you can't get it in its original iteration, but it'd be the Star Wars prequel soundtracks. So they came out in a box set with the first 6 movies, and then I'm not sure if they were released on their own. I think they were. There was a couple of color variants. I have the Phantom Menace, but regardless,
that's it for me too. Yeah. That's it for me too. Just that one.
Duel of the Fates. but I think regardless of what most people's opinion is of the prequels, it's undeniable that the scores are incredible. And those ones I would love to see an expanded treatment of. For example, Phantom Menace, they did an expanded edition CD release, but that's never been treated to vinyl. So for the entire prequel trilogy, I would love to see an extended release, and maybe a label like Mondo, who's getting a better relationship with Disney, can do something like that and do like a nice, beautiful package, you know, 3-4 LP, great artwork, just like a nice box set. I would spare no expense in getting that.
I think you have a good chance of getting that, Mark. Star Wars nowadays, I don't think is gonna be hard to come by. I think I don't know, that sounds like a release that might be. It doesn't sound that crazy, so I'm optimistic for you. I think your wish can happen.
Yeah, there was a label called I Am Shark a couple of years ago who did some interesting releases, and I think they kind of fell through. There was some weird stuff happening. I never ended up getting one of their records, but I think that was my bet at the time for like somebody who would do it. But now anybody who can do it, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I read some weird things about that label too. I don't think it ended well, whatever was going on. But yeah, I have Force Awakens, I think, from them, and I think that was all I got.
Those were some great releases, you know. Like they definitely looked very. I think it was Dan Mumph, the artist I forgot who did the design, but you know, it's. Yeah. That's an amazing. That's an amazing get. You know, get that you get that Star Wars license for that. You know, props.
Do you guys have, you know, Paolo's? Yours reminds me of like something that got away or that you didn't even know happened. Kind of lost fish. You know, I think for me, I never knew that Mondo put out that big Back to the Future box set. And I was like, man, I wish I had known about that. I totally would have done that. And, you know, same like kind of like you know, maybe you did know, but you weren't sure, but I never knew about that one. And I would have done that in a heartbeat.
Okay. So I need to brag for just 1 second. I got that box set 2 weeks ago for, I think like £20, like UK. So it's off like
the Plutonium box set.
Yeah, yes.
What?
So, what? This is off like this like raffle group that does soundtracks. So like,
oh, okay, yeah.
I forget the name of it, but I was the one who won that. So that is on its way.
Maybe I should enter those. I haven't entered those, but because I never win anything. But
I never win anything either. So like, I saw the number and I'm like, is that correct? And like, I lost my mind because that has been like a grail.
Raffling some great stuff. They like that. I saw that one. I was like, whoa! But I also saw the Avengers box set. I think they raffled.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I don't know this. What site is this? I don't know anything about this.
There's a Facebook group. It's based out of the UK, and they just do like a bunch of like raffles. I'm still not sure if it's legit. I'll let you know when I get that in hand.
It's worth 20 pounds to find out.
Yeah.
It sounds like it is. I've seen people like post like I got mine and all that stuff, you know.
I will let you know, but that I think is like the greatest score I will ever get. Like that box set is unreal. And actually, because I have the other 3 that they released separately, but I don't like them as much. That Plutonium set I think is far superior.
I actually got the 3 separate ones. When I could have bought the Plutonium one when they released, but I went for the 3 separate ones just because I really like the artwork separate. But that was a tough decision. That day was, and I once stumbled upon that Plutonium release like in Amoeba Music. It's like a very famous store in yeah. So I stumbled upon it like on the wild, and I had like a standoff with it for like 50 minutes where I was just staring at like, do I get it? Do I not? Do I get it? Like,
how much was it?
I did not. It wasn't that expensive, but it was still like more than I wanted to pay. I think maybe like 150. 125, 150.
Yeah, sure.
My interpretation of what is expensive has changed over time too. The first time I was looking at a soundtrack in a record store, it was like a used record store, and there was Star Trek: The Motion Picture by Jerry Goldsmith. It was used copy, and it was $14. I'm like, I'm never paying this for a record. Are you out of your mind? And now I'm kicking myself that I didn't get it because it was in great shape. But now I don't even want to reveal how much I would spend on a particular record. But it's crazy.
It is nice when you get some spots though. Like, you know, you can kind of get locked into this $25 to $45 like pre-order like loop. And, you know, and again, pandemic aside, like I was in the southern part of Oregon, and I happened upon a store that had great soundtracks, the new stuff, but then they had a bunch of used stuff in great condition. And I'd almost forgot, like, you know, $3 to $12 for all this kinds of stuff. Some of it kind of, you know, goofy movies, but some really interesting stuff. And I just spent a ton of money there, but I had, you know, big stack. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, I forgot it can be like this.
It's an addictive hobby. It's like drugs, but probably more expensive.
Yeah, maybe.
Hopefully it won't ruin your life though. So I guess, again, looking forward to the future, what do you have on your wish list that's never been pressed that you would like to see pressed onto vinyl? And this could be kind of pie in the sky, never going to happen, or even like maybe there's a realistic shot of something coming out.
I got to say a couple. I can't just say one. But absolutely number one would be Hook by John Williams. It's my absolute favorite score. It's without a doubt, it's number 1 king. Has always stayed there. And a lot of people love this score, so something tells me like there must be some kind of license. I don't know, like there's a reason why this hasn't been out. That's what I feel.
It has been. I've seen copies of it.
Well, I have a Japanese release of Hook. Like I do have that one. It was from the 90s or something, but I'm sort of surprised it hasn't like a recent one. And I'm hoping for like the 2 version La La Land records, like the expanded one, because that's one of those where like the expanded one really, really adds to that experience. So I'm hoping for that one. Quickly go other ones like Jumanji by James Horner, one of my all-time favorite scores. I fantasize that they released that with some sort of like wood casing or packaging like the game or something, like a slip case or something like that, or you know, or even how Mondo did with Planet of the Apes, where you open it and it's like that screaming noise. Like put some drums in it, like doom 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 before you're gonna listen. Like, come on, man, this is some great ideas. You know, just as you can tell, I've thought about Jumanji on record a lot. And then, you know, down the line, Up, I wish for Giacchino. I also love John Carter, the score. You know, say about the film, but the score from Giacchino is absolutely amazing. A sci-fi epic. Wish that would get released. And Van Helsing from Alan Silvestri. Also, that's another one which they would release. And The Mummy too, the first one from Jerry Goldsmith. Sorry.
I love Van Helsing, by the way, and it's not particularly a good movie, but I love that movie, and it's exactly like Saturday afternoon style. I love that movie. I do. You know, for me, a couple, and one of them I think is. I'm kind of keep spinning, but okay, a couple of them are David Fincher films. One, I would take Alien 3. I think that's
Elliot Goldenthal?
Elliot, is that Elliot?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, Elliot Goldenthal. Yeah, I would take that on vinyl. There is a CD out there that's around, but I think that one would be really hard because I know Mondo's played well with David Fincher before, and lots of his stuff comes out on vinyl, but I just don't see him. If he is a person who needs to approve it, it's never going to happen because I just know he really hates the end result of that entire experience. So, but that's one I would really like. Another one is Seven. I would love the score to Seven, and I would love it to include some of the work that Trent Reznor did on that too. On the soundtrack side, not really the score side, and for the life of me, I can't believe they haven't figured this one out because it's a hipster's dream as far as quirky vinyl and fun hipster music, and that's Royal Tenenbaums. You know, and Wes Anderson, you know, the music is like a mix of Mark Mothersbaugh, who's the guy from Devo. It's got a little bit of that, and then it also has like it has Cat Stevens, it has John Lennon, it has Nico, it has all these kinds of pastel 60s kind of rock bands. The Stones are on there. I'm just shocked that one hasn't come out in some way. I think I also harbor some hope that somebody will look at Akira Kurosawa's filmography and maybe just put out 5 of those. You know, I think a couple of them have been done, but there's some other ones that I think are really, from our perspective now, non-traditional scores, especially, and have a real hook into the Japanese culture, especially for the period, that post-World War II lifestyle from that era. So those are some that come off the top of my head. I have a list that goes long too. Well, some of them have come out before, so I like Patriot Games, even some oddballs like that only came out in South Korea, which I'm not even sure that, you know, how legitimized or how legitimate some of those releases are. But there's lots of stuff like that.
That's some good taste in cinema right there. You're going Kurosawa and Fincher, and I'm here saying Van Helsing and John Carter.
Hey man, it all matters. It all scratches the itch. I swear to you, I would buy half of what you just mentioned for sure.
I like a bit of both your lists. For me, my top pick, like I absolutely want this on vinyl, is The Rock by Hans Zimmer, Nick Lenny Smith, and Harry Gregson Williams. That one I would love to see an expanded edition, even though I'll even take it as is though, because it's such a great just 90s action film that is Michael Bay at its finest. To me, it's a perfect movie. I used to watch it, and I'm not kidding. I used to watch it every single day after school. Like I could say I've seen it like 3 months in a row, every single day. So I used to be able to recite it, but that score is just like action, adrenaline pumping gold. So I would love that. And like, you could do something cool with, you know, if you could do liquid filled, you could do like a VX little gas bubble thing for that, or even just like similar to, forget if it's the Alien or Aliens, but like the acid green blood, like you do something like that. That'd be really cool. But huge list. I gotta consult my list here. I had The Mummy on my list as well. The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, I think, would both
of them awesome. Are great. Yeah.
True Lies by Brad Fiedel, which I think is superior to the Terminator soundtrack, but probably not as popular. I would love to see that. Apollo 13. What else?
Isn't Apollo 13 out?
I don't think so. If it
that
is,
sounds like a music on vinyl kind of title.
I know. That's exactly what I was thinking. Tomorrow Never Dies.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah.
What was the one you said?
Tomorrow Never Dies, so another Bond score. Like, obviously, I would like all of them, but Tomorrow Never Dies would be high on my list. That, and I'll say The Fugitive as well. I have many more.
I love that's also on my list. I love The Fugitive.
Oh, a random one. Never been released, and again, probably I lose a little bit of credibility for saying this, but Pretty Woman by James Newton Howard has such a gorgeous love theme. I actually used that in my wedding as my wife was like walking down the aisle, because it's such a great theme, it's not represent, like there's not even a suite on the soundtrack at all. So it's just so disappointing that that's never been released. Apparently it's a bonus track on some other soundtrack. I forget which one, but I've never found it myself. But like, just whether it's like an extended edition of the Pretty Woman soundtrack, which has some like great like 80s and like 90s, I think, hits on it, but pop that in there, or just the score itself. Like it's so beautiful. I would love to get that one.
Yeah, it's a shame. I feel like sometimes those romantic comedy scores, the ones that are really good, they don't get like the full like soundtrack treatment. They're like, oh, here's just like the couple of cues they use. Like in that line, I like Jump Denny's Princess Diaries, but like the soundtrack, it's just like scattered cues. I feel like almost all of them are always just like 30 seconds, 45, stuff like that. So I hear you. I have to check that out. I love James Newton Howard, so I think that's on my blind spot for him.
Yeah, so just search Pretty Woman, He Sleeps. I think that's like the main theme, but it's very nice, very nice.
I think you're right, though. There's a little bit of cinema snobbery, if you will, around certain things like Pretty Women or Princess Diaries or some stuff like that, and I don't know, they probably study the market. They see how much stuff trends or how many listens stuff gets on Spotify even, or quantify, if something deserves a vinyl release. But it does seem like right now, more than ever, odder things are getting pressed than I would have expected. And, every once in a while, I'll be going through the racks, or I'll be scanning through someone's online catalog, and I'll go, wow, they really thought I'm going to repress or press this. And maybe it's just availability too. It's easier. It was right. It was possible, so they went for it. But yeah, really interesting to see what people kind of latch on to.
In that line, that's why I was glad to see The Holiday from Hans Zimmer got released on vinyl.
Yes.
And I was like, man, yeah, that's so great. Like, and again, it's one of those things, like, I'm glad that's released, because I don't, like you said, like, I don't know what data shows and everything. I know my YouTube channels just show 100% male age range, but The Holiday is a great soundtrack. It's a great Hans Zimmer score. So I saw that. I was like, that's great, man.
Great example. That's exactly what I was talking about. That's a perfect example. And
I'll be doing a full video on that in the next few days, and it'll probably come out even before this video. So stay tuned for that one. It's awesome. And one cool thing about that, what I didn't know, and they have in the liner notes, is the other composers that contributed to that. I had no idea that Lorne Balfe and what is the other one? Who did X-Men First Class?
John Powell?
No.
Henry Jackman.
Yes. So him and Lorne contributed to a lot of the tracks on The Holiday, again, which like you wouldn't picture these guys doing that kind of music, but it's just like a fun, light score. So I love it.
Speaking of Lorne, I just picked up a UK Record Store Day version of his season 1 soundtrack for his Dark Materials.
Oh, okay.
Just that kind of BBC HBO show about that book series. But if you guys haven't heard at least that theme from that TV show, it's a great theme. And I think the rest of his work's really strong in the show too. But just got that. And it was interesting. It came unsealed, and it had an OBI that says this record was manufactured not to be sealed. So like giving you the heads up that it just comes in a regular sleeve. But it has this kind of opaque OBI that kind of goes over it, that gives like beyond that a couple other pieces of information. But it was the first time I'd seen a record excuse me, it was the first time I'd seen a new record come open, and with that kind of like heads up warning, this is what our label does. So
I mean, I'm sure we could go on. There's lots of possibilities, but I guess in terms of what realistically will be on the plate, looking forward to 2021, obviously this year has been very weird for movie releases. Everything is being delayed. We're going to start to see some stuff on VOD, like Wonder Woman's coming out imminently. But in terms of 2021 and what is projected to come out, what are you most excited for soundtrack wise, and whether they release it on vinyl or not, but ideally this is something that likely would come out on vinyl. What are you most looking forward to?
Kind of a tough one, it's such a scrambled year in the calendar. You really don't know. So I don't know if some of these are going to come out in 2021 or not, but it seems like. So James Newton Howard, very big fan of him, and 2 movies that jump out are Ray and the Last and the Last Dragon and Jungle Cruise. I'm also like, one of my favorite genres in film music is adventure soundtracks. So, I always any of I feel like that genre in movies nowadays is slim pickings. It's either IP or franchise driven, like everything. So just here, I mean, one of them is IP franchise driven, Jungle Cruise, but it's a new in the sense of new music. But The Raid and the Last Dragon, like, that's like an original movie. It's supposed to be an adventure. I think animated films usually have really good scores, great composer attached to it. So I'm excited for that one. The other one I saw that, again, it might be a 2020 release, but Pinocchio by Alexander Desplat. I am absolutely interested to see. I'm a very big fan of Desplat, and Pinocchio is such an interesting thing for him to do. Can't wait to see what that end result is. I saw this film coming out. It's called, I don't know if it's pronounced BIOS or BIOS, but it's like a science fiction film with Tom Hanks, and it's scored by Gustavo Santaolalla. And I think, if I remember, and I read the description, it's like Tom Hanks plays like a guy in like some dystopian future, and he passes away, but he has a dog, and the story follows the dog. It sounded very much Castaway Wilson, but with a dog. I don't know, but all I heard was science fiction, dystopia, and Gustavo Santaolalla, and I think like that could be like a great recipe for success. So those are just ones that I saw. Oh, and I think Uncharted, the movie of Uncharted, comes out 2021. Again, I think so. But again, that's another adventure sort of grand scale film score that could be out and could be great.
Yeah, you have more a gestated list than I do. I think I'm really like upside down about what is coming out, when to expect it, and have I heard it yet, And I think for me, I've got one really big one, and that's Dune. Is the new Dune. I love Denis Villeneuve, and I think every movie he does is quality, interesting, even if it's not my cup of tea. This one is very, very much something I want to see. So it's very, very much my cup. I love the previous soundtrack to a flawed movie. I'm not expecting that at all. And because it's Hans Zimmer, and I really liked Blade Runner 2049. And I'm trying not to assign expectations, pull over possible themes, but part of me wonders if there's a possibility to have some of the instincts of that soundtrack. So I think that's one I'm really, really interested in. And I'll be honest, when that first trailer came out, he does a cover of a Pink Floyd song incorporated into that. And I really, really don't like Pink Floyd. And I was really like, I thought that would be my first taste. And then it was thrown Pink Floyd back at me. And I should say I'm just not a Pink Floyd person. And I was waiting for that first moment to kind of get a taste. And I felt kind of like, oh no, what is this? This isn't what I wanted. So, but I'm still very excited for that one. And I feel like that one's even longer and longer and longer away. But that's the one that jumps out to me the most. Otherwise, I feel totally turned around on what the film schedule is next year and what is or isn't coming out and what to hope for. Paolo, I thought you were going to name like 2, and then you nailed like 9, and I was like, shoot, you've got a better grasp on what's kind of headed.
I mean, who knows of what I said comes out in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that you get the chance to see Dune at the theater. That's that's what I hope.
And there's a lot of movies, even when they'll come out on VOD, but I think they'll be re-released in theaters once things settle down anyways. And even if I already see them, I will go see them again on the big screen. Like for me, I'm all about the cinema experience. And like Dune, for example, that's what I'm anticipating for the score is like Villeneuve gives time for that score to really play out and those visuals to play out. So I feel like it will have this amazing canvas to create something really interesting. So I'm very optimistic for that one. Like I have high hopes. In terms of my other options, like actually it's like Zimmer across the board. And like, obviously I'm a big fan, but number 1, No Time to Die. I think I've bought that 3 times already, and the date has been pushed back a number of times. I was really hoping like they would just like accidentally ship it out before it was delayed again. But that one,
wait! You already bought the soundtrack? You pre-ordered the soundtrack
3 times,
and it keeps getting pushed out. Oh,
yes.
I thought you were saying like you pre-ordered your movie tickets. I didn't know.
Could also be the same. That could also
apply.
Right. I didn't know that soundtrack had already been slated. Was that for Music on Vinyl?
I don't remember, to be honest.
I think it's Water Tower Music.
Is it?
Okay. That makes sense too. Okay. Sorry to derail you there.
Oh no, it's all good.
Actually, I don't know. Sorry, I forgot. I don't know.
And there's been 2 covers for it I've already seen, and the most recent one I'm hoping they don't go with because I hate the artwork for it. I think it's terrible. So I'm hoping they change that before the final release. But that one, I think I mentioned in your video there, Paolo, that like I'm very cautiously optimistic. They've released the first track, which is really good. Like, I don't want it to be too Zimmery, if that makes sense. Like, I'm hoping he is just very faithful to like John Barry and what's been done before him. Like, sure, like I think Thomas Newman was great because he kind of towed the party line. He did stick with the structure that we're used to, and then peppering in a little bit of his own style. And I thought that was really nicely done. And I'm hoping Zimmer does the same. Throw in some interesting action cues, but keep that classic Bond feel. And I'm based on that first track, I'm optimistic that it'll be good. I don't want a Mission Impossible 2 situation with this one, which I still enjoyed, but I don't want that type of treatment. The other, what's the Zimmer one? Top Gun. So that one, it'll be interesting to see how he handles that theme as well. Like there's going to be a lot of anticipation to do that original, like Harold Faltermeyer theme and how he reworks that. I think that will be interesting. And it's just like a great 80s tune. Frankly, if he redoes it verbatim, I'm totally fine with that, just to give that vibe. But like that movie's going to have unreal action scenes. And I can only imagine like what kind of score that could have. And then the other one, this is kind of a not weird one, but like unexpected maybe, is Mortal Kombat. So that is slated to be released next year. And so one thing I'm hoping that they keep that one theme in the film, like the Immortals, is it Immortals? The main, like a Techno Syndrome, the song. Yeah. So I'm hoping they keep that. Again, ideally, they don't touch it at all and just include it in the movie. I'm fine if that song plays continuously throughout the entire film because it's incredible.
90 minutes?
Just 90 minutes.
90 minutes of it, baby.
Techno Syndrome. You could slow it down and speed it up.
Yeah.
But please.
Who's working on it?
I'm not sure. I don't know if that's been announced yet. There's very limited info on that movie. But that one, again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think they could do some cool stuff. They could even get like somebody fairly unknown to do a lot of the score material. Like the original one, there was some interesting stuff there. I think there was a Record Store Day release this year for it, which I haven't got yet because I don't like picture discs, but I would consider getting in. Yeah. So it was okay, but there's some interesting stuff there that either could be worked with or forgotten completely, and you're going to see a bunch of amazing martial arts, I'm sure. Now that they've put some budget behind it, it's had 20 years to simmer. I think they could do some really cool stuff. But man, just leave Techno Syndrome. That's all I want.
I'm cautiously optimistic for the film as well. I've always thought like the lore or like the backstory for Mortal Kombat like lends itself well to that. Having said that, it is video game movies. They haven't had the best track record, but like you said, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. But yeah, I saw it on my research and I don't think there's a composer attached yet.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I kind of don't need my video game movies to be too highbrow.
No.
I there's kind of a good level of schlock, that I'm really game for, so like it doesn't need to be mind blowing, but it needs to have some proficiency for sure. So that could be exciting. A flip of this is there's a composer now that I want to look up because I don't know if he's attached to anything and he was so busy forever. And that's Ramin Djawadi. And he did all the Game of Thrones work and he did all the Westworld stuff. And I was just thinking, where is he right now? Is there something coming from him? So I'll have to look him up to see if he's composing anything coming out in 2021. Because that's somebody that I would probably buy just about anything he had done.
I think
He's awesome.
I think he did a very average job on Iron Man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But he he had his limitations and all that. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff to look forward to, and I think if anything, like in the next year, it's not going to be really the new movies. It's really going to be like what releases of previous films. There's so much kind of that are on people's wish lists that they for sure can sell out. Like now is kind of a prime time for me. Like you could take like La La Land or like Entrada, any of their like 2 CD sets, you could put those on vinyl, and I'm confident that any of those would sell out. I'm looking forward to the next year. I'm sure our bank accounts are not, but to me, like seeing the stuff that you guys are doing and really just like how enthusiastic the community is getting, I think is a really, really good sign, and we're in for a lot of good stuff in the future.
I hope we get to see all those films in the theater.
I hope we all get every reissue and first time release we've ever wanted. That should be that's how you make up for all of our woes this last year. That's what I bestow on all of us in goodwill.
Well, that's a hell of a message to end off with. So, thanks guys for taking the time to sit down. It has been an odd year, but we've had some interesting things come out that bring us a little smidgen of joy in these weird times. And hey, it's brought us together. So I had a great time chatting with you guys today. So thanks so much for taking the time. Please do check out their channels listed below and subscribe to them. If you like this channel, it is highly likely you'll like the stuff that they're doing. Paolo does these incredible video essays, and then David, along the same lines as myself, does some vinyl reviews, and he does a couple of different formats. He has a cool 99-second one, which I really enjoy because I tend to talk forever. So those are really great to watch in a short period of time, and he was able to get through a lot of stuff very quickly. So do check those guys out. So thank you, David and Paolo, for sitting with me and chatting. It has been a while. With Mortal Kombat, I was hoping a little bit more techno syndrome than actually happened. And when they do a full vinyl release, I will cover that one because I do have some thoughts on Mortal Kombat. I was moderately satisfied to give the short version of my review. But again, do subscribe to their channels. Check out the links below. They put out fantastic videos. Subscribe to this one if you haven't seen it yet, and we will see you on the next video.